Hello, this is Pam Brogdon, and this is another Brogdon YouTube on tone and purpose. Tone is the author's attitude toward the topic that he or she is writing about. His attitude is expressed through words and details that he selects. So when you're asked for the author's tone, you are being asked to determine what is his attitude towards the topic that he or she is writing about. Textbooks are usually written in an objective tone because they include facts and reasonable explanations. The objective tone is matter-of-fact and neutral. The details are mostly facts. On the other hand, fiction and personal essays are usually written with a subjective tone. And a subjective tone is more of an emotional tone. It uses words that describe feelings, judgments, opinions, and these are likely to include experiences, senses, feelings, and thoughts. So there's a big difference between an objective tone, which most textbooks use, and a subjective tone, which is more of an emotional tone or individual thoughts and feelings. An objective tone is impartial. It does not show any feelings for or against a topic. Therefore, it is unbiased or neutral. And often objective tone uses higher level words and avoids pronouns such as I and you. That creates more of a formal tone. Subjective tone, which I said is more of an emotional tone, is personal. It's biased, it's emotional, and it's often informal. Tone is expressed through words and details that the author selects. And to determine the author's tone, you must notice how these words and details are used within the writing. Let's look at some examples. The following statements each express different attitudes about a shabby apartment. 6 different tones are used: optimistic, bitter, tolerant, sentimental, humorous, and objective. So let's go through and talk about each one. This place may be shabby, but since both of my children were born while we lived here, it has a special place in my heart. What would be the tone of that? It would be sentimental. It has a special place in my heart. Expresses tender emotions. Number 2, this isn't the greatest apartment in the world, but it's not really that bad. What's the tone out of all of these that we've got? Tolerant. The words not really that bad show that the writer accepts the situation while recognizing that it could be better. Number 3, if only there were some decent jobs out there, I wouldn't be reduced to living in this miserable dump. That tone is bitter. The writer resents a situation that forces him or her to live in a miserable dump. So that's a bitter tone. Number 4, this place does need some repairs, but I'm sure the landlord will be making improvements sometime soon. Well, what would be the mood for that? It's optimistic. The writer's expecting the apartment to be improved soon. Number 5, when we move away, we're planning to release 300 cockroaches and termites so that we can leave the place exactly as we found it. What would that be tone be? Humorous. The writer claims to be planning a comic revenge on the landlord by returning the apartment to the terrible condition it was when the tenants moved in. Number 6, this is the apartment we live in. It provides shelter. That tone is objective. He does not express feelings about the apartment, and he simply states facts. So that's how you can determine the tone. You select the words the author uses and how he uses them. Are they facts? Can they be proven? Or is it more of a subjective, emotional? And if it's emotional, then determine what kind of emotion. Is it optimistic, bitter, sentimental, humorous, tolerant? So that's the difference between an objective tone or a subjective tone. But just remember that the tone is the author's attitude about what he's writing about. Now, let's move on to purpose. But before we do, here are some commonly used tone words. I'm not going to read them all to you, but please go through and be familiar with them, because I think it will help you on your test and on your exam to be able to recognize the tone of a passage, because you will have those on your test and your exam. Now let's move on to purpose, the author's purpose. The purpose is the reason an author writes about a topic. Why is he writing about this topic? What is his purpose in writing about this topic? He wants to share a main idea. An author's main idea is directly related to his purpose. So if you can pick out the main idea, which by now I hope you can be very successful at doing that, then you can determine what the author's purpose is in writing a selection. One of the three following purposes will drive a main idea. His purpose could be inform you, to entertain you, or to persuade you. If he or she is trying to inform you, they want to give you information about a topic. Authors with this purpose wish to provide you facts that will explain or teach something to you, the reader. For example, pain is a normal part of a physical process that lets us know something is wrong. That's informing you. If the author wants to entertain you, he wants to amuse and delight you, to appeal to the reader's senses and imagination. Authors with this purpose set out to captivate or interest the audience. For example, yes, I have gained weight. I weighed only 8 pounds when I was born. Well, that's entertaining, isn't it? To persuade is to convince the reader to agree with the author's point of view on a subject. Authors with this purpose may give facts, but their main goal is to argue or prove a point to the readers. The death penalty is deeply flawed and should be abolished. Well, that's not really based on facts. That's an opinion. But he or she says this to try to persuade the way you think about the death penalty. An author may have more specific purpose in mind other than to inform, entertain, or persuade. And the following chart shows examples of the specific purposes. I'm not going to go into those right now, but I want you to look at them and study them. But just to know that the three main purposes are to inform, entertain, and persuade. And I want you to go and study the differences of those. To figure out the author's purpose, the reader must consider the main idea, the thought pattern, and the tone. For example, the topic sentence. You know all about topic sentences by now. Spanking must be avoided as a way to discipline due to its long-term negative effects on the child. Consider what the author is going to write about spanking. Is he going to discuss the advantages or disadvantages of spanking? Is he going to argue against spanking as a means of discipline? Or is he going to make fun of those who use spanking as a means of discipline? I think the tone words must and negative indicate that the author's point of view is against spanking. The phrase long-term effects indicates that the details will be organized in a list of effects. So we can conclude that the author is going to argue against spanking as a means of discipline. Let's do some practice exercises on author's purpose. Tony's place is crammed into a tiny building next to the Fine Arts Theater. The owners offer a menu of Italian food. They've got checkered tablecloths, dim lights, and crusty bread. They also know how to make a hearty red sauce. Too bad they use it to drown delicate fish. They also seem to lace everything with truckloads of garlic. The service needs some work too. Our waiter didn't know what the specials were, nor did he think to refill our water glasses before we asked. With a combination of fake friendly chatter and outright nagging, he made us order, finish up, and clear out. He seemed to see us only as an automatic tip machine. The food and low prices bring the customers in the door. The service should not push them out. What would the tone of this passage be? Is it sad, boastful, plain, and factual, or critical, or finds fault? I think you're right. It is critical and finds fault. He was not very favorable to Tony's place, was he? Number 2, the writer says, he seems to see us only as automatic tip machines. The tone of this sentence is it serious, threatening, sympathetic, or sarcastic? Is sarcastic automatic tip machines? The writer's main purpose here is to inform the reader, caution and entertain the reader, flatter the reader, or sell something to the reader. He's to caution and entertain the reader. Caution against Tony's. Excuse me. In which sentence does the author use exaggeration to make a point about food? They offer a menu of Italian food. They know how to make a hearty red sauce. They seem to lace everything with truckloads of garlic. Or the food and low prices bring the customers in the door. Which is it? Wouldn't it be they seem to lace everything with truckloads of garlic? That's certainly an exaggeration. They would not put truckloads of garlic on the food. So that's an exaggeration. Now let's choose the tone word from the box that best describes each item. Sympathetic, straightforward, sad, sarcastic, irritated, or threatening. Please note in your checkbook how much money you spent using the ATM card today. Which one would that be? Would it be sympathetic? Is it straightforward? I'd say it was pretty straightforward. Hey, lay off. You don't have to nag me. I was going to do it anyway. So which one would that be? Look at all your choices. Sympathetic, straightforward, sad, sarcastic, irritated, or threatening. Sounds pretty irritated to me. He was irritated that he was being nagged. Number 7. When are you going to take the garbage out? Sometime this year, maybe? So which one would that be? That sounds pretty sarcastic to me. Sometimes this year. Number 8. I know it's been hard, and I appreciate all you are going through right now. If you will just put the receipts on the counter, I will take care of the paperwork for you. That'd be sympathetic, wouldn't he? I understand how hard it's been. If you'll just put them on the counter, I'll take care of it. Now, let's Identify the author's purpose for the following. Is it to inform, persuade, or entertain? Cloning human beings should be banned. Is that to inform you of something, persuade you, or to entertain you? Yes, it is to persuade you. 10. The best way to survive babysitting a set of triplets is to come armed with plenty of energy, lots of patience, and a first aid kit. Is that to inform you, persuade you, or to entertain you? Yes, that is to entertain you. So this is a very broad lesson on author's purpose and tone. I hope you understand the difference and will be able to determine what the tone is and the purpose is in sentences and passages on your test and your final exam. Please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions that you may have. Have a great day.